Hello, and welcome to What is Innovation, the podcast that explores the reality of a word in danger of losing its meaning altogether. I'm your host, Jared Simmons, and this week I'm joined by Duncan Wardle. As the former head of innovation and creativity at Disney, Duncan played a pivotal role in fostering innovation across Imagineering, Lucasfilm, Marvel, Pixar, and Disney parks, crafting enchanting new storylines and experiences. In his forthcoming book, The Imagination Emporium, Creative Recipes for Innovation, Duncan shares his expertise to make innovation accessible to all, demystify creativity for those uncomfortable with ambiguity, and infuse the process with joy and excitement. Duncan, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited for the conversation.
Well, thanks. Lovely to meet you.
All right, let's dive right in. What, to your mind, is innovation?
I boiled it right down. I define creativity as the ability to have an idea. I believe we can all do that. But I genuinely believe everybody is creative. And I define innovation as the ability to get it done. That's the hard stuff. And it's got harder. You either innovate or die. Well, that's a bit dramatic, isn't it, really? Here's the thing. In the last 4 years, we've gone through a global pandemic. We've got climate change. Anybody who doesn't believe in climate change, come and look at my back garden. It used to be a garden. It now has fish in it, yes.
Wow.
You've got Generation Z entering the workplace who don't want to work for most companies because they believe in purpose, not profit. And then we've got AI. So we don't get to think the way we thought 4 years ago. And so for me, my task, when I was asked by the CEO of Disney, he said, "You're the guy with all the mad ideas who seems to get them done. You're going to be in charge of innovation and creativity." To which my exact response was, "Well, what the hell is that?" Well, I don't know. We just want to embed a culture of innovation and creativity into everybody's DNA. So the first thing I did, I surveyed 5,000 people and asked that at Pixar, Lucasfilm. I said, what gets in the way? Number one, I don't have time to think. Number two, we don't have the resources. Number three, we say we're consumer and client-centric, but we're measured by quarterly results. And number four, our ideas seem to get stuck, diluted, or killed as they move through the innovation process. And number five, we all had a very different definition of creativity. And so with that, I tried 4 models of innovation. Model number one, I hired an outside consultancy. And I said, make me look good, because I didn't have a clue what I was doing.
Right.
And so they were very good at what they did. They were very expensive. They were never around. So the cons were, they were never around for execution, ever. And they were never really going to show you how they got to what they got to because they were worried you wouldn't hire them again. So you thought, okay, I've got so far along the garden path. And you thought, right, I'll create an innovation team. Duncan will be in charge. What could possibly go wrong? So the challenge with that is nobody outside of legal does legal work. Nobody outside of marketing does marketing work. Nobody outside of sales does sales, and nobody outside of IT does IT. So when you create an innovation team, the subliminal message to the rest of the organization is, you're off the hook, mate. We've got an innovation team. They have to innovate. So that really didn't work. Model number 3, we tried an accelerator program where we'd bring in some young tech startups that had an interesting piece of technology. We took a 50-50 stake in their business. The advantage to them was Disney can scale their products very quickly. The advantage to Disney was it could allow us to bring products and services to market much quicker than we normally could because they weren't encumbered by our politics and everything else.
Right.
But again, we were only touching 0.2% of our population. So I thought, okay, this has failed. So I thought, right, I'm going to create a toolkit that has 3 principles. It takes the intimidation out of innovation and makes it accessible to normal, hardworking people. Makes creativity tangible for 50% of any organization who are very uncomfortable with ambiguity and grey. Far more importantly, make it fun. Put tools they choose to use when you and I are not around. We ended up with a 3.5-year wait list for what was a 2-day voluntary training program. So that's when you know you're doing something right.
Wow. That is a strong indication that something is going well.
Make it fun.
You outlined a couple of things there that really stuck out. One is, I'll paraphrase, but that salespeople only do sales things, marketing people only do marketing things. The aspect of, I won't call it a silo because it's educational and it's expertise based. It's not necessarily where you sit. It's what they know and what they're used to and the language they use to communicate. But how do you help people get outside of that sort of bubble to be able to communicate and work together effectively?
We created that toolkit. So one of the biggest barriers for most of us is we say that the biggest barrier to innovation is I don't have time to think. That's not true. The biggest barrier to innovation is, in fact, all of us. And our own expertise and our own experience. And the more we have in the industry in which we work, the deeper, the faster, and the wider is, I call it our river of thinking, allowing you and me to make quick and informed decisions. But we are being tasked to get out of that river of thinking like never before. So I just wanted to give people tools to stop them thinking like this and give them permission to think like that. One of the exercises I will do with people, actually, we'll try it. So, Jared, are you a Star Wars fan or a Harry Potter fan?
Of those two, I would say Star Wars.
So I'm going to come at you with some ideas for a Star Wars party. I'd like you to start each and every response with the following two words: no, because, and then you'll tell me why not. Okay?
Okay.
But I could come to your house. We could turn the kitchen into the Death Star canteen, and we could have a food and wine festival from Hoth and Naboo and Tatooine.
No, because I don't want to have it in my house.
I tell you what, we could take everybody that's listening on the Disney corporate jet down to the new Galaxy Edge at Walt Disney World and have a private party.
No, because that will cost too much.
All right, I tell you what then, we'll do it in your back garden though, but we'll invite all the stars from the film. We'll have Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher could be a hologram. It'll be an incredible party.
No, because Carrie Fisher's no longer with us.
No? Okay, fair enough. I tell you what then, what if we just, you've got a big TV screen, we'll just show all the movies back to back and we'll give people Coca-Cola and popcorn.
No, because the movies are too long for a party.
Okay, all right, we'll stop there. So, when someone consistently said no because in you when you're throwing out ideas, how does that make you feel normally?
Demotivated.
Okay, and do you think our idea was getting bigger as we were going, or was it getting smaller? Which direction was it headed?
Clearly getting smaller, yeah.
We all know reasons why the new idea won't work.
Right.
But I would argue, start with the words yes and. So now we're going to do a Harry Potter party. I'm going to come at you again with some amazing ideas for a party. I want you to use the words yes and in each and every response. There'll be the following two words you'll use, and then you'll give me an idea back. So I was thinking, right, coming to your house, we'll put a sorting hat outside the front door, and all the good people get the Gryffindor party, and all the bad people get the dark, mysterious Slytherin party.
Yes, and we could make special invitations for each.
Yes, and they could be delivered by Owl.
Yes, and people could choose their own adventure throughout the party.
Oh, yes, and we could have glow-in-the-dark broomsticks, and we could all run around the back garden looking like idiots.
Yes, and we could end the evening with a big fireworks display.
Oh, yes, and we could do it by drones. And then, using Wingavo Leviosa, we could all ping ourselves down to Universal Studios and actually do the party inside the new land that's opening next summer.
Yes, and we could film the whole thing and put it out on YouTube.
So we'll stop there. Casual observation, a lot more laughter, a lot more smiles. You became Italian for the first time today. Bigger or smaller this time?
Bigger, much bigger.
Now, we work inside big organizations, small organizations. We have clients, we have bosses, we have constituents to bring on board with their idea. By the time we just finished building that idea together, whose idea was it by the time we finished?
It's hard to say. I think it was our idea.
Our idea.
Yeah.
So not only does Yes and take a small idea and turn it into a big one really quickly, it has a magical power to transfer the power of my idea, which never goes anywhere inside a big organization, to our idea and accelerate its opportunity to get done. I know people have responsibilities, quarterly results, etc. But just remind yourself, we're not greenlighting this idea for execution today. We're merely greenhousing it using yes and.
I love that because it also allows people to bring their expertise to the table in a way that is constructive and not divisive or creating separation.
The other challenge is this. Close your eyes. How many days are there in September?
30.
Okay, keep your eyes closed. How did you know? How did you remember? What did you learn? Or what can you see with your eyes closed?
I just envision the calendar.
Bingo. So you can open your eyes. So 30% of the audience will go like this. 30 days has September, blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
So they've just told me they're an auditory learner. They probably read a lot. It's an auditory style of learning. How do I know that? Well, because when I asked them how did they knew, they remember the rhyme. How old were they when they learnt it? 6. How did they remember it? Because they'd heard it.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen anybody count their knuckles?
Yeah, the knuckles, yeah.
Kinesthetic learners, they learn by doing. And then you've got the other 40% who just go, no, they're your visual learners. In every meeting you walk into, every presentation, every brainstorm, 2/3 of the meeting room do not share your preferred learning style.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to engage them with all three. So I decided, I thought, okay, this publisher's been asking me for years, I'll do a book. I'm like, no, I don't want to do a book. So I said, it's not a book. He goes, what do you mean it's not a book? I said, it's not a book. So let me ask you a question. When you're in an office and you look around and there's a business book somewhere in the office, where is it?
Probably on a shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's a fat load of use, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why? Because we're busy people. We've got stuff to do. And so I thought, okay, how do I create a book where you don't have to read the whole book? You could just read one page and know exactly what to do and the rest of the book can wait. I thought, My mum's cookbook. You want shepherd's pie, you go to page 67. So I've designed the contents page the same way. It's like, ever been to a brainstorm where nothing ever happened? Go to page 12. Fed up your putting your ideas down? Go to page 37. And then what I wanted to do was I wanted it to appeal to auditory learners, visual learners, and kinesthetic learners. And I love doing stuff I haven't got a clue how to do it. So we put a QR code in each chapter. We've got Spotify playlists for each chapter. And then we've got animated Duncan, and I've got some animated characters that come with me on this journey. We're inside the Imagination Emporium, and we pop out of the book using QR codes, and we tell you how to use the tools. So we're making it fun for visual learners. And then for the kinesthetic learners, you thought, what do? I know. I'm going to create the first ever fully integrated artificial intelligence book. I thought, how do I do that? I don't know. So I'm testing it in WhatsApp. It's amazing. The QR code on the back of the book, you scan it and you sign up for WhatsApp. And through ChatGPT, you ask the book how to use this tool on that page. And the book answers you when you're in a meeting.
Wow.
Let me ask you a question. Close your eyes. Where are you usually, and what are you doing when you get your best ideas?
Probably at a piano playing music.
Okay, so open your eyes. I did this yesterday in Calgary with 3,000 people. I've done it with up to 20,000 people. Do you know how many people say at work? Nobody ever says at work. Well, why? Because when we're at work, right, our brain is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. We never have our best ideas at work. Why not? Now, close your eyes again. Picture the last verbal argument you were in with somebody, bit of a shouting match. Now, you turn to walk away from that argument. Now, you're beginning to relax. You're 5 seconds away. You're 20 seconds away. You're a minute away from the argument. And what just popped into your head totally spontaneously the second you turned to walk away from that argument? What was it?
Probably the thing I was doing before.
Okay. How about the killer one-liner? That one perfect, beautiful line that you wish you...
Yes, that is, yes.
Right? But you'd never delivered it in the argument. Why not?
Yeah.
Because when you're in an argument, your brain is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. When you're at work, emails, presentations, weekly reports, and I hear myself say, I don't have time to think. When you say I don't have time to think, you're on the brain state called beta. When you're in beta, the door between your conscious and subconscious brain is firmly closed, and you only have access to your conscious brain. Believe it or not, only 13% of your brain is conscious. 87% of your brain is subconscious. But all the stuff you've learned is there to help you solve the challenge. But when you're in beta, you can't access it. But we're in the shower, right? So I run energizers. They're 60-second exercises specifically designed to make you laugh. Why? Because the moment I hear laughter, I metaphorically place you back in the shower where it is when you have your best ideas. Let people be playful every minute of every day, although it'd be quite fun. But I do expect people to be playful when they're trying to have a big idea. So I deliberately made the book playful. So I created this character called Archie, because when you ask people where are they when they get their best ideas, most people say the shower. Archie's, his ancestor, of course, was Archimedes, who got his best idea in the bath. So my daughter walks in the room when I'm designing him. She looks down. She's about 30. She goes, Dad, he's an old white guy. You're an old white guy. You can't do that Okay. So I've created 3 little characters. This is Spark. Spark is male. He introduces you to the creative behaviors. This is Zing. Zing is gender neutral, introduces you to the energizers. And this is Nova. She introduces you to the innovation tools.
Very nice.
It's very visual. It's for the visual learners. I mean, it's spectacularly visual. So I wanted to make it fun. I want people to use it. I don't want people to buy it if they're not going to use it.
Right.
I wanted to make it fun. I believe if you make it fun, people will use it. We say design thinking and innovation because we're like, yeah, most of it's common sense.
That's so true. So very true. I love the thought and the intentionality that went into the structure of the book. I can imagine the content is equally impactful and effective. I'm wondering, as you're talking about innovation, we're talking about creativity, and the book leads with imagination. If you think about those as 3 distinct concepts, how do they relate to each other? I know you connected creativity and innovation earlier, but how does imagination worm its way into that sort of model?
I often hear people say, we don't have the resources. You always hear that. So let me ask you a question. Who are the most creative people you've ever met?
Usually either musicians or people with limited resources.
Bingo, children, right? And how much money they got? None.
Yeah,
exactly. I was asked to go to the Derby slum in Mumbai 6 years ago, I think, to create light where there was no electricity on 0 budget. I thought, okay, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Never been to India. I thought, I'll give it a go. So I was sitting in the cafe outside the slum where they did have electricity. I noticed the spotlight just hit the plastic water bottle I was drinking out of. And it created a ring of light around the bottle on the table. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So then I was just being curious like a child. I thought, well, what if I take the advertising label off the bottle? The ring of light got a bit bigger. I thought, well, what if I take the lid off the bottle? Bigger. I thought, well, hang on a minute, what if I stand on a chair? And about a height of 12 feet, because the water was closer to the light source, that ring of light could go up to about 3.5 feet. Now, it wasn't particularly strong. So the bloke who was sitting next to me, he said, well, put some chlorine in it, you'll magnify the light. I thought, all right, I'll give it a go. So I walked out into a hut next door that had no light, cut a hole in the ceiling, stuffed the bottle through it, and lit the hut during daylight hours. So I wrote to her, I'm a great believer in the Henry Ford quote, whether or not you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right.
Right.
I phoned up a mate of mine who worked for Evian in Paris, used to work at Disney. I said, hey, you're about to trash the planet with 1 million empty bottles, right? He said, yeah, so what's your point?
He said, yes.
I said, I tell you what, send them to me for free. Right? This is the project we're working on. Take your advertising label off the side because we need the light. 6 weeks later, we lit 1 million huts. No electricity. So let me ask you a question. What's the small word that a small child asks you again and again and again and again?
Why?
Why? Because they know you lied the first time. That's why. They are after the core consumer truth. Yeah. They're after the site for innovation. Our data today is good and it's getting better, but our data only goes to the first or second why. But if I were to survey 5,000 people and ask them why they go to Disney on holiday, the number one response is, we go for the new attractions. Well, why do you go for the new attractions? Well, no, I like the classics. Well, why do you like the classics? Well, I like it's a small one. Oh, God, no. Why it's a small? I remember the music. Oh, God, no, not the music. Why the music? Well, what was my mum's favourite ride? We used to go every summer. Why is it important to you 25 years later? I take my daughter now. Boom, there's your insight for innovation. It has nothing to do with the capital investment strategy, everything to do with people's personal memory and nostalgia. That's a communication campaign. And I am getting to your answer. But then we go to the number one killer of curiosity, education. And the first thing our first grade teacher tells us to do is stop asking why, because there's only one right answer. Now, when you were a small boy and you were given a gift for a holiday and it came in a huge box, right, and it took you ages to take the toy out of the box because the box was the same height as you were, what did you spend the rest of the week playing with?
Usually the box.
Yeah, your rocket ship is your car.
Yeah.
It was anything you wanted it to be until you went to the number one killer of creativity and imagination, education. And the next thing your teacher told you to do is don't forget to colour in between the lines. We are killing the most employable skill sets of the next decade through education. I was out in Tel Aviv before everything went mad. I was doing a project with Google on their DeepMind project. That's their AI project. And I spoke to the lead engineer. I said, how the hell am I going to compete with this? She said, well, the things that will be the hardest for me to program. I said, well, what will those be? And she said, well, the things that make us human: imagination, creativity, intuition, empathy, etc. She said, whilst they probably almost certainly were not the most employable skill sets of our entire careers, they are now.
Right.
Because they'll be the hard. Will they program them one day? Maybe, but not anytime soon, I don't think.
Not anytime soon. I couldn't agree more. That's so well said. That brings me back in my mind to your point about Gen Z and the passion over profit sort of mindset.
Yeah, I was asked to give a talk to, well, let's just call them the world's largest tool manufacturers, about Generation Z and purpose. And I thought, okay, well, I don't know a whole lot about Gen Z and how they would react with their tools. So I went down to Home Depot and Lowe's for a day and hung out like some creepy dude, freaking out the consumers at the point of purchase. But I was just watching and listening.
Yes.
So I went back to their board. I said, listen, this generation's never heard of your brand. They didn't mention you once. At the point of that decision-making moment, they didn't mention the price point. They didn't care. They didn't mention the tool, the hammer, the chisel. They taught what was important to them. They talked about, we're going to remodel our dream kitchen. We're going to redo our dream bathroom. I said, your purpose, if you choose to create it, is you could be the brand that helps people build their dreams. And you can see the finance guys rolling their eyes with laughter saying, get this freak out of here. I said, well, hang on a minute. If you're the brand who can help people build their dreams, could you be in insurance? Yes. Banking? Yes. Finance? Yes. Hospitality? Yes. Education? Yes. Entertainment? You can be in any line of business you want. No, we make tools. We're really good at it. We're going to expand into India and Mexico. They have a growing middle class. They will buy our tools. Yeah, good luck with that. India bypassed the laptop computer and went straight to a mobile phone. 3D printing. We're printing houses in Houston, Texas today for $1,500, fully sustainable in less than 5 days. You think Amazon's working on drone delivery? No, they're not. They're working on you printing most of your products at home a decade from today. If I print anything I want on demand 10 to 15 years from today, what will I use, a hammer, a chisel? Oh, no, that's right. I won't. They'll be in a museum. This company, the world's largest tool manufacturer, will be in the Smithsonian Museum within less than a decade from now because they have no purpose. And here comes Gen Z. The boomers think Gen Z will bend to them because the boomers had to bend to their elders. Well, yeah, because we could only tell our two mates if we were pissed off about something down the park when we kicked the ball around. Generation Z can tell the world. Thank God.
It's such an important concept to internalize. And I just wonder how innovation agendas, as they move into more staid, classic, traditional industries like finance, like the tool industry, like, I know you know, but billions, trillions of dollars are spent on things we don't even think about. The chemical that the person uses to treat your lawn. Yep. There's multi-billion-dollar industries that are predicated on having done things the same way for decades.
Yeah, there's some small examples, right? I mean, 19 Crimes. Are you a red wine drinker?
I am, yes.
Have you tried 19 Crimes?
I have not.
Next time you go down to your supermarket, don't ask the consumer to do anything they're not already doing. Hold your phone up to the label. Somebody will pop out the label and start talking to you. And if you ask people, oh, did you buy the wine or did you buy the experience? 100% of people will say, oh, I bought the experience. They probably never drunk the wine. The wine's not that good. The fastest growing number one selling red wine in the United States of America took them 6 weeks to get there.
Fascinating.
By turning a product into an experience. And what do Generation Z buy? They're buying experiences.
So that's something you have to deal with at point of purchase. So I'm fascinated that, because I would imagine a lot of companies are trying to come up with ways to be more present online and be more present in that mode. But
Apple Vision Pro, I don't know if you've tried it yet. If you haven't, anybody watching, if you haven't tried it yet, yes, it's too much money. Yes, you look like a dickhead because it's too big. However, it's going to get cheaper. It's going to get smaller. So give it a try. So I'm working with two of the biggest sports teams on the planet, one in the US, one in the UK, in different industries, because their stadiums seat, 60,000 people. And I said, well, yeah, but what if you went to the consumer? They're like, what do you mean, what if I went to the consumer? So I took them down to the Apple Vision Pro store, and we sat in the Apple Vision Pro store, and I was live in the dugout with the Boston Red Sox during the game. But no, I wasn't. I was in an Apple store in London. Now, when these things get cheaper and more accessible, Johnny sitting in Cairo wants to watch the Liverpool football game, but he can't afford to fly to Anfield. So he spends $1, he's in the back of the stadium, $5, he's on the halfway line.
Yeah.
And then $10, he's on the bench next to the players. It's about reversing the challenge. So Walt created this tool. It's how, by just simply reframing a challenge, can I get people out of their river of thinking differently? So he said, hey, we're not going to have any customers in our park. We'll only have guests. We won't have employees. We'll only have cast members. That simple reframing of the relationship between the customer and the employees, the cast member and the guest, Walter created this level of hospitality that's rarely been repeated since. So if I were to Atlanta, you and I are going to go into business together. We're going to open a car wash, right?
Right.
Tell me if you would just riff off a list of the 3 or 4 essential ingredients we must have in our car wash. What must we have?
We have to have soap.
Soap? What else?
We have to have rags.
Rags?
We have to have a way to dry the car. We have to have employees.
Employees. Okay, so vacuum, dryers, etc. Okay. Jared, we have been hired by some venture capitalists. You and I are now going to open a new franchise of auto spas. Ooh, a spa. Now, what have you seen in a spa? What would you like to see in your spa? What should we have?
We should have relaxing environment.
Okay.
Soothing music.
Music, a lounge. What else have you seen in a spa? Anything you want. What do you want?
Tea, like
tea?
Water. Yeah, those sorts of things.
Okay.
Place to lie down.
Nice. All right, cool. Which one would you rather go to?
I'd rather go to a spa, for sure.
All I do is reframe the challenge to stop you and give you permission to think differently. 2011, if we'd said, how might we make more money, we'd have put the gate price up at Walt Disney World by 3%. People would have complained and we'd have made our quarterly results. You don't get to iterate in a post-pandemic world. So instead of saying, how might we make more money, we said, how might we solve the biggest consumer pain point? Well, everybody knew what it was. It was called standing in line. So we looked outside of our industry in a tool that I call Where Else, which is about, because most insights for innovation don't come from looking inside your own industry. They come from looking outside your own. We found a very small pharmacy in Tokyo, Japan, using RFID technology to enable people not to stand in line. Bing! Welcome to the world of this magic band. Does it come red or grey in the mail? Of course it does. Why? Because you'll upgrade to the Star Wars edition or the Little Mermaid edition. Does it come with matching merchandise? Of course it does. It's your room key today. You don't check in or check out of a Disney resort. It's your theme park ticket. It's your reservations for your favourite 3-character meet and greets, your favourite rides. You can pay for merchandise with it, have it sent to your hotel room or house. If we'd started by saying, how might we make more money, we'd have made 3%. But by reversing it from the consumer's point of view and looking outside of our industry, The average guest at Walt Disney World today has 2 hours free time each and every day they didn't have 6 years ago. What has that resulted in? Record intent to recommend, record intent to return. And what is it you lovely people do with your free time in Disney theme parks?
Spend money.
Oh, hell yes. The biggest single revenue generating idea in Disney parks history.
I can imagine.
Not only that, but what's everybody doing every second of every day? They're crowdsourcing the future of every product and service Disney creates by telling them what they like and what they don't. But by reversing car wash, auto spa. How might we make more money? How might we solve the biggest consumer pain point? It just gets people out of their river of thinking.
I see. It's interesting to me that you're able to bring a concept from Walt Disney from the 50s, 60s into relevance. I love a lot of the thinking.
His most powerful one is what if?
Mm-hmm.
You list the rules of the challenge you're working on, step one. Just list them. Don't start to think about them, because then you'll start thinking of all the reasons you can't break them. So for the film Fantasia in 1940, Walt wanted to pump mist and heat into the theatre, and the theatre owner said, no, Walt, that's not the way we do it here. We tried that last year. That won't hit our KPIs. So Walt listed the rules of going to a movie theatre. Don't think about them. I must sit down. I must be quiet. It is dark. I must go at a set time. I must pay to get in. I can't control the environment in which consumers experience my product. So you've got a list. Pick one of those words and ask the most audacious, outrageous, provocative what-if question. The more provocative, the further out of your river of thinking you'll jump. So he said, all right, if I can't control the environment, what if I could control the environment? Well, he didn't own the movie theatre, so he couldn't. Besides, that wasn't provocative enough. He said, all right, if I can't control the environment, what if I take my movies out of the theatre? If you know the answer, you're iterating. If it scares you, you're innovating. They said, well, how are you going to do that? It's two-dimensional. It'll fall over. People won't be able to see it. Well, what if I made it three-dimensional? Well, how the hell are you going to do that, Walt? Well, what if I just had people dressed up in costumes? I could have pirates and cowboys and princesses. Well, yeah, but Walt, you can't have Cinderella standing next to Jack Sparrow and Davy Crockett. People wouldn't be immersed in her story. What if I put each of the characters in a different themed land? Boom, what if I called it Disneyland? One of the biggest inventions of the 20th century. Now, did you used to go to Blockbuster Video?
Yes.
Did you pay late fees?
I'm certain I did, yeah.
You pissed off at late fees?
They were quite annoying. Yes.
So the founder of Netflix did exactly what Walt had done. Step one, list the rules of the challenge. I must go at a set time. I must drive to a physical store. I must go during opening hours. They never have the one I want. I can only rent 3 at a time. I must take it back. I must rewind it. And if I was Duncan's age, I'd be kind and rewind. And if I took it back late, I'd pay a late fee. And one of the rules was I must drive to a physical store. So in 2005, he just said, well, what if there was no physical store? And then he looked at, again, then he used the where else tool that Walt also created. And it's about, he looked outside of his industry and he found there was a company called YouTube, streaming amateur content. He said, well, hang on a minute. What if I just do a deal with the major movie studios? I'll just stream professional content. Nobody will have to drive to a store. I'll be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'll have an unlimited stock. They won't have to return it. I'll cut the rental off at 24 hours. Nobody pays a late fee. I'll call it Netflix. I'll take my idea to Blockbuster 5 times. They'll turn me down 5 times. I'll take them out of business in less than 5 years. Now, the tools I've just gone through, people are probably sitting there going, yeah, great, that's Disney and Netflix. We don't have the resources. Okay, I forgot to give you a smaller one on the one before, so I'll do it now about how to reframe the challenge. Because I want people to understand you can use these tools on anything. I was up in New York waiting for a meeting, sat chatting to the young lady behind the reception desk, got upstairs, said to the boss, your receptionist is so delightful, so empathetic, so friendly. He said, oh, well, that's nice. How long were you chatting to her for? I said, 10 minutes, I suppose. He goes, oh, well, that's odd. I said, well, why is that odd? He said, well, we don't have a receptionist. Hang on. Her name was Sarah. She had a summer dress on because it had no sleeves. He said, oh, Sarah. Sarah's our director of first impressions. Boom. That simple re-expression of employment, right? And then on the rule-breaking one, there was a company in Britain that used to make glasses in the 60s. Before the days of mass automation, they found too much breakage and not enough production when the glasses were being shipped and wrapped. So they went down the shop floor, observed what was going on, wrote down the rules. 26 employees, conveyor belts, 12 glasses to a box, boxes made out of cardboard, glasses separated by corrugated cardboard, 6 on the top, 6 on the bottom, glasses wrapped individually in newspaper, employees reading the newspaper. So somebody asked the somewhat provocative what-if question, what if we put their eyes out? Well, that's against the law and it's not very nice. Because they had the courage to ask the most absurd what-if question, the lady sitting next to him immediately jumped out of her river thinking, well, hang on a minute, why don't we just hire blind people? Production up 42%, breakage down 26%, and the British government gave them a 50% salary subsidy for hiring people with disabilities.
Wow.
List the rules, don't think about them. pick one and ask the most audacious what-if statement.
That's such a great tool for reframing and getting unstuck as well. I think there's a lot of stuckness right now as we're moving into things.
It's just about helping people to stop thinking that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Your education comment made me think about in high school, I had to write an essay about school or whatever. And I started it with a Mark Twain quote, which is, I never let my schooling interfere with my education. And I feel like that sentiment is in the same vein as your...
They can't see it yet. Education, universities, how much debt do people leave with? The future of education is gaming, whether you like it or not. Nobody's realized it yet. It is. Because today I walk into a history class, the professor stands at the front of the class and goes, in the year 4 AD, Julius Caesar was stabbed by Brutus in the steps of the Senate. Oh, yeah, great. But what if I could put one of these headsets on, walk into the Senate in Rome, debate with the senators and say, Julius, look behind you. Not quite, but you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
People ask me, should I stop my kids playing games? Is it stifling their creativity? It's creative problem solving 101. They get to pick their own challenge, their own team, their own adventure, their own costume. No, gaming is going to enter just about every industry.
That's such a great insight. Duncan, it's been such an amazing conversation. Before I let you go, I want to ask if you have any advice that you'd offer innovators or people looking to be more innovative.
This will sound patronizing and it's not meant to. The only A I ever got in any exam at school was absent because I didn't show up. I was a disaster. But I loved English literature and I loved history and I got A's in those subjects. So you think, okay, well, I like them and therefore I get an A. So if you apply that principle to life, if you do what you love, you'll be really good at it. Don't matter what it is. I don't care if you're a plumber, electric, it doesn't matter. If you do what you love, you'll be really passionate about it. You'll go the extra mile and you'll be successful. I'm a great believer in if you do what you love, you'll be successful. It's as simple as that. Just a massive believer in it.
You believe it. You clearly embody it because it oozes from you. It's clear that you love what you do.
Yeah, I finished as head of innovation and creativity at Lucasfilms, Marvel, Pixar. I started as the cappuccino lad in the London office. I used to go and get my boss 6 cappuccinos a day from Bar Italia on Frith Street and work my way up through Disney by basically having mad ideas and having the courage to get them done.
I'm sure that's a story in itself. Duncan Wardle, thank you so much for the time and let us know the name of the book and when we can find it, where we can find it and all of that.
Brutal plug. It's called the Imagination Emporium and it's up on Amazon now. What do they call it? Pre-sales or something? It comes out on December the 10th.
Just in time for Christmas. We'll make sure to have copies for our team. And
for the visual learners, at the back of the book is a pull-out map of your brain, which you may say resembles something else, but I would argue that it is in fact a map of your brain.
Leave that for folks on the YouTube channel to get an eyeful of. Yes, it'll be perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Duncan, for your time. It's been a wonderful conversation and hope to stay connected.
Lovely to meet you. And I'll probably see you in concourse at Atlanta Airport at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thanks very much.
All right. Take care. Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to get more insights from innovators across the world. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional content and conversation. I hope to see you there. Until next time, keep innovating, whatever that means.